Daniel, a transfer student from out of state, finds a cheap old apartment online. The photos look shady, but the rent is low. The landlord barely speaks, just gives him the keys and warns, "Don't make noise at night. People get disturbed easily here." On his first night, while moving in, Daniel notices apartment 9A has been sealed shut. Not just locked, chains, wooden planks, even melted wax around the door seams. It looks like something inside has been buried alive. When he asks the old lady in 9C about it, she responds coldly, "Don't even look at that door after dark." At exactly 3:03 a.m., Daniel wakes up to a soft crying sound. Not weeping, but desperate, almost choking. He presses his ear against the wall. The sound is coming from 9A. For 3 nights straight, the same thing happens, and then it changes. On the 4th night, the crying stops and scratching begins, like nails dragging along the wall from inside 9A. He tries recording the sound. When he plays it back, he hears another voice on the tape. "Please, stay with me." Daniel decides to visit the city archive building to search deeper into the apartment's history. He finds blueprints from the 1970s and discovers something strange. Apartment 9A didn't exist back then. The current 9A was once part of a larger room. Room 9, used for spiritual rehabilitation by a cult known as the Hollow Nest. The group believed in housing broken souls in solitude, by sealing them in isolation with their guilt until their spirit detached from the body. They say she wasn't the first, but she was the last. The blueprints also show something terrifying. A hidden passage behind the bathroom in 9A. A sealed crawl space. Daniel sets up an old camcorder he bought online. One that said to see beyond the veil. He points it at the wall between 9B and 9A. At 3:03 a.m., the footage captures a pale figure crawling across the wall like a spider upside down, whispering in reverse. When he rewinds and plays it forward slowly, the voice says, "He put me in the crawl space. He promised I'd be loved." Now he watches through the mirror. The camera suddenly shuts off. Daniel returns to 9A, more prepared. He brings a flashlight, salt, iron nails, and a crow feather he found in his dream. He finds the crawl space panel in the bathroom and pries it open. Behind it is a dark tunnel lined with claw marks and feathers. He crawls through. At the end of the space is a tiny candlelit room, no larger than a coffin. On the walls are old photos of Elise, some with her eyes scratched out, some with Daniel's face scratched into them. But how? Suddenly, Elise appears behind him, not as a ghost, but as a distorted human, whispering like a crow. "If you crawl in, you never crawl out." Daniel screams, but there's no space to turn back. Daniel escapes, barely. He makes it back to 9B, sweating, covered in feathers and ash. He tries to call his friend, but when his friend answers, Daniel can't speak. The voice on the other side says, "Daniel, why are you calling from Elise's number?" He checks his phone. The name on the lock screen now reads, Elise Marana. He looks in the mirror and sees Elise's face staring back. Daniel boards a train to leave the city, desperate to run from the nightmare. But at 3:03 a.m. on the train, lights flicker. The reflection in the window blinks when he doesn't. The passengers suddenly disappear. He's alone. Behind him, a voice whispers, "If you leave, who will cry for me?" The train enters a tunnel, and when it comes out, Daniel is no longer on it. Back at the building, a new girl, Ashley, moves into 9B. She's told not to bother with the locked 9A next door. That night, at 3:03 a.m., she wakes up to the sound of soft crying from inside her closet. Please, don't leave me here. The closet slowly creaks open. Sophia, an introverted painter in her late 20s, arrives at an old forest cottage she rented through a silent retreat site. The cabin sits deep in the woods. There is no Wi-Fi, no neighbors for miles, just trees, silence, and her art supplies. The first night is peaceful. Birds chirp, and the wind whispers through the trees. She paints until midnight. Then, at 2:22 a.m., tuk, 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 3 taps from under the floor, slow, deliberate. She freezes, her paintbrush mid-air. Tuk, tuk, tuk. It stops. She forces a smile. Old house, just settling. The next day, Sophia explores the house. In the back of the kitchen, she notices a door nailed shut with planks and rusted nails. On the door, an old symbol burned into the wood, a circle of crow feathers. She tries to pry it open, but stops when she hears whispering, not from behind the door, from inside the walls. That night, at 2:22 again, tuck, tuck, tuck. This time it's followed by a child's laughter, muffled, like from underground. Sophia begins keeping a journal. She's sleep-deprived, jumpy. Her paintings change. They now include unintended shadows in corners and a faceless girl who appears in every piece. She starts recording audio at night. Playback from the third night. You're sleeping in my bed. Whispers, followed by crying. Footsteps, scratching. A girl humming a lullaby. The next morning, she finds small muddy footprints leading from the nailed door to her bed. She lives alone. Determined to uncover the truth, Sophia rips up the floor beneath the fireplace, where the knocking always sounds loudest. She uncovers a sealed brick tunnel, behind which lies a forgotten ritual chamber. Inside, old bones of a small child, a porcelain doll with black hair and no eyes. Walls scribbled in soot with messages. She never left. She lives in the woods. The floor beneath the chamber is hollow. Sophia vomits. She calls the local priest. He hangs up the moment she says the address. Sophia begins blacking out for hours. She wakes up standing outside at night, barefoot, whispering to the trees. Her journal now has drawings she doesn't remember making. One shows her hanging upside down beneath the house, with dozens of stitched dolls watching. The voice gets louder every night. The whispers are no longer sad. They're angry. She starts seeing the girl in mirrors, staring from inside her reflection. One more night, then we switch. On the final night, Sophia is pulled, literally, from her bed by invisible hands into the center of the room. The floorboards ripple like water, and ghostly children crawl out, faceless and stitched. The girl appears. She now wears Sophia's face. Your turn, Sophia screams as she's dragged under. The floorboards close like nothing happened. Silence returns. Weeks later, a real estate agent unlocks the cabin. A new tenant, a writer, arrives smiling with her suitcase. She comments, "Such peaceful silence." At 2:22 a.m. that night, tuk, 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 and the faint sound of Sophia crying